Hello and welcome to the show. This week's FailRace versus the community, we were going racing with D-Class convertibles. Our first race would head to the Lime Rock circuit, and I would find myself at the usual, my usual starting point in Forza, at the back of the grid, with plenty of work to try and do around a track that is not so easy to overtake. I'd made a couple of positions before we got towards the first corner. As you head through these opening turns, managed to draw alongside an MX-5 and get the acceleration down the next straight. A Honda was keen to try and follow me on my march up through the field. The S2000 having to go side by side with the MX-5 up towards this. It's a nasty corner, easy to get caught out on, and indeed we did see a couple of people in the tyre bundle up there. The 2CV kind of technically count as a convertible, and there were a couple of those in this race. Struggled massively in terms of straight line speed. It was outdragged by just about everything, but it did have, I believe, race tyres on this one. Certainly better tyres than pretty much all of the rest of us around, which did make it very quick around the corners. That is helpful. When it comes to Lime Rock, where there are many turns and many kind of nasty medium speed turns for the cars to deal with, yeah, having that bit more grip is very helpful. Sure enough, the 2CV would manage to make a move stick on the MG. Of course, we get to a little straight, and the MG is immediately trying to fire back down the inside. However, it just doesn't have the grip to match with the Citroen, and the Citroen would keep it around the outside of a rather difficult corner. The MG right on the tail towards the next turn, but pushes it a little bit too. I mean, the 2CV was out on the grass, the MG a little bit further than the Citroen. I was not having quite so much luck with my Datsun. It was, designed to be more of a car, power built essentially. It was not really liking Lime Rock, and in all honesty, it wasn't as fast as I wanted it to be for a power build car, if you like. The i6 engine I had in it wasn't really particularly great, I found out later. I tried to get past an MX-5, couldn't make it stick. The S2000 spotted an opportunity. I was quite keen to capitalise on that, and my hope was that I would have enough speed. I always knew I was going to slow around the corners, but I hoped I'd have enough speed down the straights. The answer was no. The answer was really no. Basically, I was slower around the corners than a lot of cars, and then maybe a mile an hour or two faster down the straight. So it just didn't work out for the Datsun at this particular circuit. Further back, a BMW MX-5 and a little Honda were busy fighting for position. In this particular one, the Honda was not too bad at all when it came to the corners. However, it had absolutely nothing in terms of straight line speed. And when you have absolutely nothing, it is a little bit easy to get mugged by everybody as we run down towards the first corner. It's 3 wide into the braking zone. The BMW gets the pair of cars to move up those 2 positions. The MX-5 just couldn't quite hold on to that place. The Honda would sneak back underneath. Now the S800 is busy kind of having a look around, trying to find a way that past. Even if he could draw alongside, though, at this point, it was always likely that he'd be out and dragged down towards the next corner. He couldn't get alongside either way. There would be a battle for third between two CVs, while the lead pair would pull away. You can just about see them in the distance, would pull away from the rest of the field. Sort of too far a gap for anybody to catch in the latter stages. The Citroens, with one going wide out of the final corner, that would pose a ideal opportunity for 4th place. It couldn't get alongside on the way in to turn 1, however, just was much better through the corners. The many-coloured Citroen just did not have the grip. He got it stopped at the first corner, but just couldn't carry the speed through the turn. The black and white car able to make the pass stick. For my poor Datsun, I'd kind of be stuck not really being able to make much in the way of lap time. A Porsche that got tangled up early was making its way back up through the field. The 914, as you might expect, a pretty damn quick car around these circuits for this sort of a challenge, with the S2000 trying desperately to cling on to its position. It wasn't going to be enough. The Porsche that a little bit better out of those opening corners, out to accelerate the Honda towards the next turn. Probably one of the easier places you'll find to overtake around Lime Rock. There's no real easy easy places to overtake. The S2000 thought about trying up the inside, realised it wasn't going to work, ends up bobbling across the grass and losing some time in all of that. Yeah, kind of out-accelerate down one of the straights is the easiest way you're going to get passes done here. The rest of them are a bit on the scary side. At the front, it was a Plymouth Prowler that was leading the way in the closing stages of this race, trying desperately to keep hold of that lead with an Alpha Spider looking for a way past the Plymouth a little bit wide as they head up towards the final corner. Now that Prowler just could not carry the speed. In the end, the Alpha just saw that opportunity. All it took was one little mistake. The Plymouth went defensive on the way in, ended up out wide on the exit. The Alfa Romeo can get his car to the inside and get the pass done. The Plymouth, perhaps a little faster down the straight, kind of thinks, has a look at having a dive on the inside for turn one, but it isn't quite going to, well, it isn't that good under brakes to make that particular move stick. I was having trouble with a 300Z. I actually got a big two-wheel moment across a few of the curves around it. My Datsun wanted to be a motorbike at various points. Yeah, it was a little bit scary to drive in places, and as I was trying desperately to fend off the 300ZX, I was out wide over that final corner. I squeezed the Nissan as much as I can to the inside, knowing that there is not a huge amount I can do. I was hoping to cut back to the inside. In the end, I just gave a little bump to the end. I couldn't quite time it to dive back underneath. I just gave a nudge to the Nissan and ended up pushing it out wide, so I kind of had to let it go in all of that. Yeah, my Datsun wasn't great. I'm going to be honest. The Datsun wasn't great at Lime Rock. It was not a happy car around this circuit. At the front, having got to the lead, it would be the Alfa Romeo that would go on to take the victory. The Prowler had no real answer for the Spider. In fact, not too many cars really did have much of an answer for the Spider. A good combination of that straight line speed and, well, being able to maintain its speed through a lot of the turns. The Prowler, though, would get a second place, which is not a bad showing for that car, while a 2CV would come home in third. To the podium, it would be Invisible AK with the victory. Tim and Ninetails in second, with Please Don't Leave Me rounding out the podium. Interesting podium of cars: Alpha Spider, Plymouth Prowler, and a Citroen 2CV. But there you go. It's kind of par for the course, really, when it comes to FailRace. Our second race, and we would head to the Silverstone National Circuit. Quite a different track to Lime Rock, while still a relatively short one. Of course, you have got three decent-sized straights around here. I was hoping my Datsun would, fare a little bit better on this, although there are still some nasty corners that you have got to try and deal with. The Honda S800 up ahead, we saw having to, there was a Corvette having a big go up the inside. The Corvette actually got the place on the way in, couldn't hold it on the way out. Then we have the drag race down towards this next corner. The Alpha Spider that we're following here, one of the faster cars down this straight, and then come, well, the big braking zones. Difficult one to get right down here, especially when you're in a big pack of cars on the opening lap. And sure enough, a Datsun, not my Datsun, that one, would get itself into trouble while the leaders were already busy trying to get away. It was rather busy for us further back. I would, start at the back for all three races because Forza wanted to be mean to me. Again, another pretty solid start by me to get me up some positions on the first lap, and I was keen to continue that momentum. Trying to go from the very back of the field in these to the front is not an easy thing to do in the relatively short races that we run, so I needed to get as many cars as quickly as possible. My opportunities, in towards, halfway through Maggots and Beckett's, I was still stuck on the outside trying to round up a Corvette. Now, as I said at the start, I'd hoped for my Datsun to be a pretty damn fast car down the straights, and against this group of vehicles, the Datsun was proving its worth. It was able to outrun the MX-5, outrun the Alpha Spider. It actually got 3-4 cars down that particular straight as we headed into the twisty section. I would manage to make all of that manoeuvre stick as well. There was still, though, plenty of cars to try and get past. It was a case of focus on being neat on the exit while vehicles up ahead are busy fighting one another, and a Bath, another BMW as a Corvette is trying to get through. They're all trying to go 2 and 3 wide. I'm happy to pick up the pieces as and where I can. Sure enough, out accelerating the BMW and the Abarth to gain 2 more places. It would be another one through the first corner if I could get things right with the Corvette out a little bit wide. The Abarth spotted me making up positions, wanting to try and follow the Datsun. There was a white Datsun as well that had a dodgy line or run through that first corner. I'd get that car as well. Quite a successful lap. Quite a successful lap. I think it was about 8 or 9 cars that I managed to get past in the space of a lap. And that wasn't even the first lap either, like off the line and so on. Yeah, around here, the Datsun was working. Well, interestingly, the further up the field I got, the more I realised there were cars considerably faster than mine and had to rely on its ability through the corners, which was bizarre, but yeah. This was the fight for second place. At the front, a Mercedes was leading the way. It was under threat until, I think it was a Honda disconnected. So this was, yeah, kind of like the big fight. And of course, these two, you're fighting like this, you're really quite slowing each other down. You're allowing the leader to pull further and further away, when the main competition at the early stages had ended up having a disconnect. So still going side by side with the yellow 124 able to keep hold of the position for now. They'd just be swapping sides each corner. You'd swap sides, someone else would have a go at getting past. I think the blue car's slightly better through the corners, and maybe even slightly better for the initial acceleration, but the yellow Abarth had a little bit more top-end speed, and the blue just not quite able to find a way past and make it stick. Wouldn't be long before I would catch up to this group, and thus begun the sudden realisation that, well, I was going to have to try and out-handle these cars because I couldn't simply out-drag them. Well, that was okay for me, trying to be brave around the outside, although you can see all of us leaning on the cars as they're very, very close to some big slidings going on. The Datsun was a little bit on the twitchy side if it did start getting slidings, so I had to be a tad careful around the outside of one corner to the inside of the final turn. That would work nicely for my car. I was now up onto the podium. Considering the manic early stages, I was quite surprised, pleasantly surprised, to find myself up into a third place, and certainly looking for a way up into second. Chance, potentially, out of the first corner. I knew I could get a good run through these turns, but the Abarth was always going to out-accelerate me. The best bet was going to potentially be around the outside. Well, the same corner I did the other Fiat was probably going to be the best. I can get the acceleration, I can get the drive, I've got the traction out of that corner. But I'm always going to get out-dragged as we head down towards the next turn. So it was going to be around the long way. It's not the most comfortable one to do, especially when my car is not great at handling in the first place. Like, when you've got miles of grip, when you've got an excellent handling car, that's an okay manoeuvre to be wanting to do, but when mine's a little bit on edge at the best of times, I was not really wanting to do that kind of thing, but we got the job done. In fact, we actually let another couple of cars past as well in all of that overtaking. If you defend too heavily, or you try to attack too aggressively and so on, it's easy, especially in a big group of cars, to end up costing yourself more than one position. Likewise, further back, there was still battling going on between a couple of Alpha Spiders, Corvette, involved in the middle of all of this. There was a blue Datsun in there. There's an Abarth as well coming to join in. The Alpha Spider just sweeping across the front of the pack a little bit too aggressively, and would end up not quite coming out on top. I think she ended up waiting for the cars that he gave a bit of a nudge to in all of that one. Yeah. With large packs like we were finding in groups around here, little mistakes could be very costly. At the front of the field, it would be the Mercedes that would go on to take victory. I tried everything that I could in the Datsun. I got clear of the big fight for second, and the Datsun was absolutely flying around here, but I didn't have enough laps. Another lap or two, perhaps, and I would have been able to get the Mercedes, but I just ran out of time. It would be the big Merc that would go on to take a victory. I would have to settle for a second place as man with the victory. Yeah, I tried, but couldn't quite make it, with Aaron McGrath in third with another one of the Mercedes. Our final race, and we would head to the Hockenheim short circuit. A track that I always enjoy going here with Versacusi. It often tends to create some of the most exciting racing that we see in these. It was plenty busy through the opening corner. Pretty sure they were 2 and 3 wide, certainly 3 wide in a number of places, which is always quite scary through there, especially in what are often, a lot of the cars in this are very small and very light. The curbs are not pleasant. The curbs are not pleasant around this circuit whatsoever. they're very, very mean curves, especially at, at turn 1. Again, in this opening lap, a lot of shuffling around for position. The BMW we are following here was immensely fast down any sort of acceleration zone, but as you can see, not exactly easy to keep it pointing in a straight line. And as we head in towards the hairpin, they're trying to go 3 wide. The MX-5 trying to go around the outside, can't do it. There's just not space for all of the cars. The Prowler is looking around for any position it might be able to make make gains in, but you've just got nowhere to go when you've got so many cars stuck together like this. You're really costing, well, I say you're costing each other a lot of time. You can't get an overtake because there's 3 cars ahead of you, so you've got to back off, you've got to be careful, and then cars behind all get stacked up again, going 3 wide down the start-finish straight. There's a Fiat involved. Fiat's on the outside though for turn 1. The BMW's bounced across the curb, the Prowler's across the curb on the exit. There was a lot of metal in a very small space of circuit. In the end, it would be the 2CV that would come off worse. I think 2CV tried to shove its nose up the inside and just 4 cars into one bit didn't work. 2CV didn't get damaged though. He did manage to spin it around and continue. It wasn't just that large group further up that were having a manic, adventurous time. Yeah, that was also going on further back as we head towards the final couple of corners. Ferrari tries to have a go up the inside, can't quite. I guess I think there's a nudge from an MX-5 that was also then having a look at the inside of the car ahead. They kind of all get away with it without having cost each other, too much time. The Ferrari loses out to the S2000, although it's head on to the start-finish straight. The Ferrari's got all of the straight line speed on this little group. They go 3 wide towards the first corner. Think better of that one. And California bumps his way across the curb on the inside of turn 1. It's such a horrible go. California actually looked like it rode it fairly well compared to a lot of us, and then got another position as well. So from having been across the grass at the penultimate turn, made up 3 places by the time they got to turn 2. Not bad going at all. Not bad going at all for the classic Ferrari. Now, the lead pair, they would quickly bugger off in this particular race. They would be long gone. Third, however, well, that would get crowded. That would get crowded very quickly, and of course, once you've got a group of cars together, like this size together, the amount of time that we cost each other, we're never going to catch the leaders. They were, I think, probably a little bit quicker than most of us regardless, but yeah, when you start going 3 wide, someone's on the grass. I think it was the Alpha Spider trying to stick with the 300ZX, ended up with a wheel on the grass, couldn't quite hold on. The MX-5's passed now, the BMW's trying to get involved there, the Prowler's in there, there's the Fiat, there's my Datsun. I think there was all sorts of cars inside this group. Now it's the Mazda's turn to have a look, trying to find a way past the Nissan. Couldn't quite do anything just yet. The 2CV was recovering from a visit to the tyre bundle, kind of joining on the back of this train. And the more that this group of cars, the more we stuck together, the more we fought for position here, the more vehicles we actually dragged onto the back of the chain. As well, at the front, the MX-5 was now at the head of the group. The 2CV was going to have the run around the Datsun down towards the first corner. Surprising considering the 2CV's general lack of straight line speed, although perhaps the fairly short nature of this circuit, it wasn't quite maxing out, or perhaps other cars even more struggling than the 2CV. I was busy fighting with a Fiat and an Alpha, and yeah, we were all back together as one big group. I would get stuck up behind the BMW, trying to find a way past that. The MX-5 had dropped back into the mid of this little group. The 2CV was also keen to find a way past the BMW. Again, in this particular group, the BMW the fastest of all of us down the straights. I am faster than the 2CV down the straights, but the 2CV is better than all of us around the corners. I beat the BMW in the turns. It was kind of a It was a frantic battle. It was a frantic race, because every corner you were going 2 or 3 wide and trying to deal with cars that had completely different strengths and completely different weaknesses. BMW tries to hold it around the outside of the final corner. They're 2 wide, they're almost 3 wide up ahead. We were almost 3 wide. I've got to the inside of the 2CV and we'll clear it before we get towards turn 1. The BMW's long gone as everybody's on 2 wheels. as I said, a lot of cars were having trouble being fired onto their side across that inside curb. I'm pretty sure we're stuck on the outside of 3 wide. BMW's now got stuck behind the Prowler. I'm still fighting with the 2CV because that's got all of the grip in the world through the first couple of corners, but then has no speed down this next straight, and I've got to try and hold it up through the next turns. The Fiat's going side by side with the Alfa Romeo, and this would continue for a number of laps. The problem is, the longer that this continued, the more we were kind of we kind of knew that there was likely to be trouble. In a group like this that fights for as long as we were fighting, it was going to end up in one of 2 ways. Either A, we would eventually spread out, or B, somebody was going to make a mistake. We're going 3 wide at a corner where 2 wide is sketchy. We were 3 wide with me, the MX-5 and 2CV. It was mad. It was mad, but quite good fun. I'm struggling massively for grip. The MX-5 has kept the position from me. I've slipped back into the clutches of that Citroen. The Fiat's come up to join in. The Datsuns caught us in all of this. The mistakes, well, that would come from the BMW across the outside of the circuit, across the curve. That'd be enough to send the BMW for a big spin. Amazingly close to me collecting the side of that car. How he spun across the front of all of us and nobody hit him, I have no idea. Unfortunately for me, things would not go well for the Datsun. Fiat got launched onto 2 wheels, careered into the side of my car, and an already twitchy Datsun got sent sideways across a curb, and I couldn't save it. And thus, the field was calmed. Sadly, it ended up in the BMW pointing the wrong way on its own accord, and me having an incident. Yeah, it didn't quite go out so well for my Datsun. Up until that point, was amazingly spectacular. You know, at least we went out in a spectacular way. The 2CV would come out of this all relatively well, actually, having picked its way through the field. In fact, the Prowler would also come out relatively well up in 3rd. The 300ZX, that would be now trying to cling on to 4th place from the Citroen. The Citroen, though, so very good around the corners, around the outside at the hairpin. Still can't quite get the move completed on the 300ZX. Has to wait until the penultimate corner, but would get the pass done there, and then can just carry that speed, carry that all-important speed through the corner, and be far enough away by the time it got to a straight that the Nissan wasn't able to kind of repass it, retake the position. Now, while all of the mayhem was going on further back at the front, while there might have been 2 of them miles away from everything, at the front, this is actually still a very good race. Throughout, well, pretty much all of the race, whenever I put the camera back to these guys, it was a fairly similar story. The MG was trying to find a way past the Honda, just couldn't quite do it. It was on the final lap that the Honda gets in big trouble. The S800 had been all sorts of trouble going up on 2 wheels across the curve. On the final lap, though, it was one of the biggest 2-wheel moments, and certainly the most costly, as it got fired on its side, slid across the track. That gave the opportunity to the MG to fire up the inside into the 2nd corner. It's certainly not all done, though. The Honda's straight line speed would bring it back into contention down the back of the circuit as they go side by side through these next corners. The MG would get the position once more, although it's got to be mindful. It's going to get out accelerated by the Honda. Up towards the hairpin they go, although the MG's managed to position himself. You don't really want to be on the outside for that particular corner. However, if you are and you can hold it, you get that inside preferred line through the hairpin. The Honda still looking for any which way it can get alongside, any which way it might be able to get past. The best bet for the Honda is to focus on getting a good run out of the final corner, out-accelerate the MG to the finish line. The problem is that MG was just too quick through the corners. The Honda couldn't quite live with it, and on the drag race to the line, it wasn't close enough to repass. The MG would take the victory, with the Honda having to settle for a 2nd place. Yeah, it was a mad race forward, just about everywhere. It was quite good fun though, quite good fun indeed. Further back, the Fiat would be fighting with a Ferrari California, MX-5 on this final lap as they head up towards these last few corners. Fiat trying to get underneath, trying to look for a way past into these last turns. He's stuck going the long way round into the final corner, although does manage to make that one stick. There's also half an opportunity up the inside of the Ferrari, and well, if you're going to leave the door a little bit open, somebody's going to go and get the pass completed. The Fiat would overtake 2 cars in the final couple of corners. The California, though, just able to fend off from the MX-5 for that run to the line. The podium, it would be Impega that would go and take victory. Muri in second place, while Tim and Ninetails would get the Prowler into a third. Win the manic midfield battle in all of that. My Datsun was not particularly great. I'm going to be honest, it worked at Silverstone relatively well. However, Hockenheim it wasn't as bad as it was at Lime Rock. It really didn't like. Hockenheim it wasn't as bad. Although that was also helped by just being part of a absolutely massively manic pack of cars. It was very good fun. A shame I ended up pointing the wrong way. I think I collected an Alpha Spider as well as I came across the track trying to catch it. Sometimes these things happen, and whenever you are bouncing around on two wheels, it could well have been me that ended up doing that to somebody accidentally. Yeah, shame a little bit how it ended. It was a massively entertaining battle. Yeah, Datsun is not my best built car. The 2.6 i6 that I put in it, probably not the engine to go for. It's not. It was hoped to be a lot of speed, and it just wasn't. It just didn't have much. It didn't have enough straight line speed, and wasn't good enough through the corners. It just wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't specialised enough, and just yeah, didn't really work, which is a shame. But there we go. That is going to be it for this week's Versus Community. The next one is going to be on Thursday the 14th of June. We are going to go racing with some cycled production. If you would like to sign up and take part in that, you can via our forums. There'll be a link in the description. Find the FailRace Versus the Community section, and you can sign up in there. That'll be it from me, though. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.